on your Alexa-powered smart speaker and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. America First with Sebastian Gorka, today at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Sam and Kevin Sorbo are two of the more interesting, thoughtful Christian filmmakers on the scene today. And they've got a new film, Irreligious Nation, which explores the question, do we really need religion at all? And timely question to explore, given what we've discussed on this show, the significant decline in the number of Americans who place importance on their faith. It's dropped 24 percentage points in 20 years. Now, again, there are some countervailing trends that suggest maybe pollsters don't exactly have their pulse on the populace. For example, the popularity of the series The Chosen, which I think is nearing 200 million downloads.
Yeah, it's on Paramount.
Hopefully, Sam and Kevin Sorbo's new film gets the same kind of action. Sam Sorbo's a filmmaker. She's a radio host, actress, international activist, and author of Words for Warriors, Fight Back Against Crazy Socialists and the Toxic Liberal Left. She joins us now. Sam Sorbo, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you so much for those kind words, too. From your lips to God's ears, that this film would be as popular as The Chosen.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way,
it's interesting. We think that we're giving up our religion when, in fact, we're simply adopting a different religion. And I think that's the big ruse, the big sort of the bait and switch that's happened through our school system, basically, is that the school told us that the Bible was not relevant to education and we could just leave out the Bible and have schools be sort of unreligious. But in fact, no, there's a new religion that's in the schools, and that is the worship of government. And so we took a tour of people over to Israel to sort of ask this question: is faith really that important? And what we discovered is, heck yeah.
By the way, the film Irreligious Nation is available on Salem now. You can get it there. I think that's right. I mean, it was what Chesterton observed long ago, right? If people stop believing in God, they don't believe in nothing, they believe in anything. And that's where we're at now, government themselves. Wow, yeah. And so the choice to take this journey to the Holy Land as the backdrop of exploring the question.
Yeah, we had planned the trip to Israel. This was a bucket list thing for us, and then we decided that we could gather a bunch of people together and experience it as a group, which I think was very profound for my entire family. And one of the families that decided to come with us had reached sort of a crossroads for their family, in the sense that they were being kind of drawn asunder by the culture. The culture is at this point anti-family. The schools are anti-family. The schools destroy the family. I think that's the greatest theft in the history of the world, is this theft of family from our culture. And so this particular family, I was talking with Joe Kakady, who is the patriarch, and we suggested doing a documentary, and he was on board to document how this trip might affect them. And that is part of, obviously, that's part of the story of this documentary, Irreligious Nation, is when you are faced with the historiosity, with the actuality of the events that took place in the Bible, rather than just the storybook that we've been sold in our culture today by the ignorance of the schools. When you're faced with the reality of it, it really brings it much more in focus, and it becomes much more a part of your life. And so what I'm hoping for the film is that people who watch the film it'll bring them one step closer to their faith, to God, to the Bible, to the church, right? That it'll facilitate a little bit of an awakening in them. We need to pay attention to this, because it's a war of worldviews. It's a war of religions right now in our culture. And it's not the religious versus the non-religious, because the left is extraordinarily religious, more religious than conservative Christians. They believe so fervently in God And by the way, they are God, which is why, you're not allowed to go to church. I mean, we really need to wake up to this. It's partly why I wrote the book, Words for Warriors. It's partly why I advocate for children getting out of school, that parents are innately capable of educating their children at home. And if you read the Bible, if you believe the Bible holds that to be the truth. And it's partly why we did this film.
Well, you said that the Bible quote is the only book that reads you. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Well, it's a book that brings you more to yourself. It brings you in better understanding of yourself because, there are two truths. There is a God, you're not him. And the Bible is the book that will lead you to that final sort of revelation. And that's the war that's happening is either you're God or there is a God, and you need to be subservient to him. And of course, the culture is telling us, no, you're God, and YOLO, you only live once, and you have your own truth. And the problem with that is that he who is the strongest gets the truth. So if we live by this rule that you can have your own truth, well, the fact is you can only have your truth if it doesn't conflict with the big guy's truth. The big guy being whoever happens to be in power. Right now, we have people in Washington who say that men can be women, and in fact, I just saw a meme of a guy standing in the women's restroom line, regretting having transitioned to being a woman.
Right, don't want to got to wait in line. No,
Yeah,
exactly.
It's not as easy as you think.
Ah, right.
It's so funny. We live in a culture where the feminists have told men that they're irrelevant, and so men are saying, "Okay, then I'm going to be a woman." And the joke's on us.
You and your husband Kevin coming up in the entertainment industry. Did you ever have your own crisis or crises of conscience? Did you ever wrestle with your faith or with the pressures of the particular industry you're in?
Well, I will say I came to faith later in life. My husband was raised as a Christian. He had a crisis in a sense when he had 3 strokes, and he wrote a book about it called True Strength. Mm-hmm. He had 3 strokes while he was playing The Strongest Man in the World, Hercules, and he wrestled with God. He never thought that God didn't exist. He just really questioned God's judgment and God's design. And it was actually through that experience, and obviously you can read about it, that he realized that his life was meant for more than just entertainment. As much as he loves filmmaking and entertaining, he realized that there's a message behind all the entertainment. And that's what drew him into the more Christian filmmaking. And, he believes that, we both believe that, God is the greatest storyteller. The devil has no stories. And our calling is to tell stories that inspire and uplift. Much to the contrary of a lot of what's coming out of Hollywood these days, which is very depressing and very destructive. And, we see the destruction in our schools and in our culture. It's the abject destruction of children, of God's child image bearers, right? And, we ought to be a bit more careful about that. And so that's what we've done. We've sort of dedicated ourselves to spreading this message of, let's dig in. Let's not shy away from our faith. Let's dig in.
Going back to the film Irreligious Nation, give us a sort of a broad description of the group that went on this journey with you, and maybe without spoiling it, of course. I'm sure some people were differently situated with respect to their faith, and what some of the takeaways were after the experience in Israel.
Well, I think that was the joy of it. Is I kind of term us as a bunch of misfits, and what I mean by that is, there wasn't any grand design in collecting the people who came on the tour. It's just everyday people, people who just decided haphazardly to sign up. And so we followed. So the documentary follows them to a certain degree and watches them as they reignite, because the being confronted with that, the Holy Land, is to reignite your faith. You sort of take it for granted in a sense. And so the takeaway from the film for, I think, everybody on the trip, and what's amazing is we came together so beautifully. I mean, we had service together. We almost, in a sense, had confession together, although it wasn't really confession, but we told each other our stories. And there was a coming together that happened on the trip that I think nobody really expected. We're still in email contact with everybody. It's really quite remarkable. I will say this, I'm a gregarious person. I'm an extrovert. I used to do 3 hours of radio every day. I talk a lot, and I love people. But I will tell you that after visiting Israel, when I came back to the United States, I realized very profoundly that I love people more. And it's an emotional thing for me, because that is very clearly the indwelling of Christ in me, that I love people more than I did, which I didn't even think. Well, first of all, of course, I didn't even expect that, but to experience that and to understand the depth of love that's available, that we don't avail ourselves of, because our culture has told us that we're silly, that we are the ridiculous ones, and placed doubts in our head. When you as a Christian send your Christian child to a system of education that purports to educate and ignores the Bible, the message is the Bible is irrelevant. That is the message that your children are absorbing. And there's nothing you can do about that. There's no amount of church on Sunday and, youth group on Wednesday that will do anything to alleviate that tremendous harm. The Bible is the best history textbook that we have. Full stop. It's the best, it's the most accredited history textbook that we have. And yet we ignore it in our schools at our own peril. It's actually a really good science book, strangely. And yet we denigrate it. So, I'm hoping with this film and other things that we do that I can encourage people in our faith. And the reason for that is our faith is the only reason that we live in freedom. Christ was the author of our freedom. And he was the author of the freedom that we encapsulated in our founding documents, which we are very quickly learning to ignore. And once we give that up, once we give up our faith, once we give up our freedoms, it is not to come again.
Well said.
This is a very precious, precarious balance that we have. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just thinking I really need to get over to Israel to rekindle my love of people. I'm struggling with that. Sam Sorbo.
I hear ya.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't know the half of it.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I'm
Sam.
in Chicago in particular. Good grief. Sam Sorbo.
We need more love.
She's a filmmaker, radio host, actress, international activist, author of Words for Warriors: Fight Back Against Crazy Socialists and the Toxic Liberal Left. The new film featuring Sam, narrated by her husband Kevin, and she described the basis of this documentary. Irreligious Nation, the film Irreligious Nation, and it's available on Salem Now. You can download it at Salem Now post haste. Sam Sorbo, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck with the film.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. God bless. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Some save money for one big dream vacation. I take the kids camping twice a year.
For me, what's most important is sharing with my community members in need.
My financial goals? Expect the unexpected and plan accordingly.
At Thrivent, we believe money is a tool, not a goal. Driven by a higher purpose at our core for more than 100 years, we offer expert financial advice that starts with what's important.